for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumined, beloved, divine.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today. As you can see, I'm outside in the mountain valley by a beautiful river beach, one of my favorite ones, and it's so hot today. I'm literally sizzling here on the white stones. I'm not used to this because probably you know that where we live it's cold most of the time. So where I am today, it's pretty hot, and I don't want to overheat. I don't want to overheat my device. I don't have anything very specific prepared. I'm just going to go with the flow. But it will be another one of those, oh no, not the topic of physical ascension again. One of those topics that I really feel that still makes a lot of people very uncomfortable. Even people who are themselves talking about ascending. And you know how many times I talked about that ascending, physical lift off, and elevating yourself through many stages of gradual physical elevation of the soul moving through the body, and equally through the light body consciousness resurrecting your physical body. But the actual act of physical ascension as that final transfiguration, right, it's still a little not just not understood, but also misunderstood, and a little coming through people being afraid of that as well, because you know it's kind of that unknown. We've heard about it, there's different stories about it, and yet, as I've shared with many of you, not many physical people on the planet Earth have actually ascended before, physically in a lumen way. That they, through their own physical body configuration, created physical ascension through a lumen ascension, right, pathway. Many have great potentials in this life to access what we call a higher spiritual path, the path of Christ's mastery and initiation, and not many will take it. Very few will choose that path. But the road, as you know, gets narrower and narrower, and therefore someone needs to talk about it. And me and my team, Aurea, you know, we're all about physical ascension. That's what I came here to not just talk about. I came here to perform this in the physical body. And it's uncomfortable for everyone, even myself. I remember last year, probably I was in the same spot in this mountain valley that I love very much, that I talked about this topic. And some people had a different response, and they had a more fearful response. You know, they thought that I'm talking about death and things like that. You know, when people would think of this physical life ending, when you're actually ascending, it's actually just the beginning. It's a beginning of something new that's very unknown, very unfamiliar to many people, especially souls who've been on this planet for such a long time, just reincarnating through the wheel, so they don't have any other viewing. And usually souls, and through people who respond like that through ego and contraction and basically projections of their own ideas of what should we be doing on this planet, because everyone is different. We're all of different consciousness, we're all unique, we're variables of source, we have different placements in this universe and our different tasks and assignments. It varies so much on this planet, so you cannot have one person having one perspective of ascension and thinking that's the only one, because it's just their personal story that they somehow affiliate with at this specific time, right? It depends on their own evolution and evolutionary journey of the soul. There's many people who believe in higher spirituality, but they wouldn't believe about or in ascension. Last year when I put this topic out, and it was a difficult time for me actually. I was going through a very depressing time because I was mourning so many things and so many losses, not just myself personally, but in our whole collective light team, right? You know, when illumined light beings come on missions here on this planet, we're not the same as other people. We're not humans, literally. There's less of a percentage of being human. You know, the ratio of human configuration, which is physical consciousness that the body holds, and the memory of the body that is ancestral, that has memories of earth and its earth descendant pathway, and then the memory of different lineages that are beyond earth, it's very different, right? So for us, we have a different ratio of what makes us human or humanness in comparison to who we are. And for myself, I'm not an ordinary human. As in my light body, I'm an angel. And angel is such a, it's again another misinterpretation of the word. For me, angels are light beings, right? And even light beings have different variables of their density, of their purpose in creation, and what they do to serve God or the divine, right? So when I came on this planet, I didn't know my mission, right? I didn't know from the beginning. All my life was basically just one big preparation. I had to go through a lot, and even that which I thought was difficult was nothing in comparison to the actual mission that I then remembered, which was the dealing of our team with transgression and this phenomena. In my case, as you know, I've shared many times before, it was very intense, and it was the ultimate misplacement and misconfiguration you can perform in terms of cutting the angelic being held, you know, through their light being as their light body in their physical body, so they can have an embodiment and do their work. They perform it here. We need the physical vessel to do that part of the job, right? And what happened in my specific example, these beings who are opposed ascension in this timeline and this pathway, who are opposed to souls moving from the realm of entrapment, literally in this hologram, in the matrix, and basically these souls who are also angelic souls, who are starborn souls, to move them to their true reality, the reality where there's no entrapment, when there's only freedom. Your soul can truly be as liberated as it is. You can create whatever you want. It's a harmonious creation. It's a harmonious flow. But for you to get there as a soul being, you have to go through specific energetic upgrades plus understanding in your physical embodiment for you to elevate yourself to that level. That's why a lot of people, even people in the spiritual realm and communities talking about ascension, they're still just revolving around the same old, same old. And it feels that which is comfortable for them to accept about the very nature of what reality can be. And even they have imprints of a limited narrow bandwidth reality of what reality is, not what it can be and what they can create. So until you, as I've talked about many times before as well, refine your physical embodiment and your lower human traits, lower emotions that keep you entrapped here, that keep you condensed in this lesser ego format, right? Ego is not necessarily all bad. Because sometimes, even in my work, if I didn't have it for what I do, I wouldn't survive on this planet. But I'm talking about the negative traits of ego that keeps you stuck, limited in separation mode, which if you don't resolve that and you don't transform through that and you don't eventually transfigure yourself physically, you will get still entrapped here and you will stay here, perhaps for a very long time. And so our work, when I came here, was very specific, right? What Aurea, which is my mother spirit, or my Elohim self, what she had to do is first, right, she needed to prepare me. Through me, she needed to put the messages out, and through those messages that kept on reverberating and calling out to many souls, she called a specific group of advanced star beings who were also kind of entrapped here. So she reached out for these star children, and what I received through my work and years of that work is that this work is now complete. And my family of light, they said, the star children, they'll be fine, they'll be okay, we did that work. I've talked to you about how there is also specific souls who are somehow in between as the gray zone. They needed to have their agreements back in the trajectory of the spiral. So they needed to be elevated to the level of the spiral so they wouldn't be in this contracted mode. And the reason why so many people don't understand this is because they don't believe in it, because they don't have their own personal experience with it. And it's very hard, right, in this realm with the limited vision that most people have, is to actually believe in something you don't see. But the reality, you know, is kind of reversed. It's knowing, then you believe. It's believing, then seeing. Not seeing and then you can believe in it, right? But most people function in the opposite, which is also a kind of inception, right? Because in truth, God creates by first you have to envision it, and then it becomes a reality, right? And if we're truly divine, that's how we operate. But instead, in this realm, people limit themselves by, you know, if you can't see something, then it's not real. So how will you believe in something, then how will you create it? You can. And that's why a lot of dark inception works this way, to entrap people in this furthering of their encycling here. So that part, right, when Aurea had to locate these third children, and I had many sessions with these beautiful beings throughout the years, I've assisted so many people, if not in their soul liberation, at least in their opening up to life, to what life truly is, and that we are not here to live a life, but we are the essence of life. Holy Spirit is that spark of life that is the containment of the sacred fire spark that is in every one of us. And when that flame starts rising, it actually naturally anoints you from within, and it keeps elevating the higher qualities of life, which are basically our angelic qualities and attributes. So the more you elevate yourself, you also notice, right, that it's very hard for you to function with people who are still very encircled in drama and fear mode, attached, addicted even. And addiction is not always drugs, food and things like that, or activities, but it's also people. It can also be addiction to patterns, for example, fear of abandonment, fear of speaking your truth, fear of opening up. There's a lot of beautiful beings who still have a fear of opening up fully to life, to themselves, recognizing themselves that they're not just a slave to life, that they need to do specific things. But by being the very extension and creation of God, they themselves can become godly. And you can say, well, I'm already divine. No, our vessel, our physical experience, our human experience is being elevated. So the third part of my purpose, which is beyond the mission work, was to also elevate my own physical human experience, right? To elevate my physical body. And that was the difficult and the tricky part. Why? Because of transgression. Because what transgression did, and what these beings, they know what they're doing exactly, what they do with angelic souls like myself. I have to first explain this a bit for those of you who are interested. Angelic souls have a variety of energetic gateways that access, they locate through specific parts in our body, and it's where a physical body receives our light being or a light body, right? So those of us who are lumen beings, or those of you who are starborn beings, we have a higher light quotient that can precipitate into our physical embodiment, our vessel. But if these gateways are being cut through and they're being literally burned through these energetic tools and weaponry that these transgressionists and antichrist beings do, and they possess, and they use and utilize them on these angelic beings to entrap them here. If you manage to burn these gateways, right, you cannot receive your light intelligence as naturally and organically. So for me, the part of these 3 years since I was cut off from my natural, gateways, I couldn't access myself fully in a lumen way. So I was naturally feeling the sensation of depression. My life was, I watched this short movie about how bipolar, what's it called, malfunction or challenging aspect, this state and condition looks like. One day you're very elevated and you're hyper and you could do anything and be anything and create anything, and then the next day or next few days you're like as low as you can be and depressed and sad, and all these emotions just rise to the surface. And that's how my life looked like for the past 2 years. Not anymore now, but it was these very high states of highs and lows, because I had these intrusions and inceptions in my body since I can remember. And I located that anomaly into the year timeline 2010, when I had also my first dream, right, of being buzzed all over through these frequencies by machines that don't have a specific composure. They're not material, but you can feel them. They're actually artificial intelligence, and they're machines. They're like vehicles that went around me, around my field, and they were performing things. So the reason why, when transgression happened, when the maximum capacity of those electric shock waves came into my body, that was in 2019, is it was such a huge disturbance that it locked, it burned all of these gateways. And remember, I shared with you how it literally, in one of these transgression experiences at night, it literally almost like put me out of my body. It kind of pushed me through into the state that I almost went through a portal, and I couldn't come back. But my team probably helped me to get back again, because my work was not done. My third aspect, right, of my mission was to elevate myself, to ascend myself, to experience physical ascension and transfiguration, and to move back into my homeland, which is not truly the real homeland or the density I come from as an illumined creation angel, but it is actually a place of reality where we create. It's a creation space. And what my team calls this place, a space, this realm, this new realm, right? You've seen me talk about, is the best of both worlds. It has aspects of what you would call a tangible, right, reality, and yet it's not this tangible. You know, it's what a lot of people talk about 5D looking like, and yet it's not anything to do with, oh, that's just 5D and that's what that is. These are states of density, but we're talking about a whole realm. And realm always has variables within it, because you have to discern between dimension, density, and a realm, or a dimension, a realm, and then a density that you hold within that realm, right? So within a specific dimension, there's many realms, but when the realms, beings hold specific configurations or densities, you know, through which their light fluctuates, comes through, and it creates a specific creation, right? Starting from our physical body, the vehicle that translates or transduces our light intelligence, right? So it's kind of an intense topic, so bear with me, right? I might go a little here, a little there, but you know, in the end, it will all add up together, as it always does, right? So perfectly through spirit. So when we talk about this new realm, right, they show me that the last step will be literally this physical liftoff and us moving into this new realm. And the new realm is not like what I would call home. The home is, you know, the space of spirit where we originate from as specific beings. And I don't see myself going from 3D back to 9 density, right? It's not like that. But what we weren't able to, or it wasn't ever, I don't think it was ever meant to be, to create here. But we've put all the seeds into this new realm. And so the reality that many of these star beings dreamt of, and they couldn't access here, they couldn't create it here, it's going to be created there. And it's already being created. Many beings have already their counterparts there. For me, that same story goes, right? I remember back in, I don't know, it was the beginning of me moving to the Alps, and one day I dozed off here at the beach, and when I woke up like this, on the mountain beach by the river, I had this strong knowing that told me, oh, he's not here. And I knew it was about my beloved, my counterpart. And it was very difficult for me to accept that. And you know, through transgression years, I had to go through several rescue missions, my own and his. This was such a complex journey. And even I myself, as the human counterpart, I don't have all the answers, but I know a lot what they show me. And so this journey was so long, and every specific part had to be like unfolding in a way that it would bring you back to the next one, right? But the last step, they said, was always meant to be physical ascension, and the movement in this, what we call the new realm, right? Let's just move a little bit. It's difficult for people to imagine that, because you know, when you really, really tune into spirit, you see beyond the veil of what this realm is. This realm is very tangible, and in a way is beautiful. But because of this beauty, you know how we always say nature is a nymph. Because of the natural world and its beauty, sometimes we're like enticed to just be here. And it's the same with me when I have beautiful nature moments, which are so rare, you know, like when the weather aligns, the energies align, your physical vessel is quite okay, and you're joyful inside. And, you know, those days when you just say it's a perfect day today. These are very minimal in the amount of the harmonious resonance we can experience here on Earth, in comparison to the difficult and challenging and painful days that you have, especially for me, in my case, due to transgression. But on these days, right, it's like you're lured into this magical realm that this Earth, of course, also has, and you would think, oh, it's not so bad, I would just stay. You know, I could stay. But I need to start at the topic now, you know, enough with the introduction and the summary, right, which is a summarization of everything I've already shared in my videos. What I recently went through, and these always come as surprises for me, right? Transgression pain releases for me are very difficult to go through and to understand, because often when I'm done with one wave, I get very excited. I'm very much in a new elevated state. It's like literally a new ascended state I'm in, and I'm so happy because I literally, through this hijacking of all that I am and burning of my gateways, you know, and these were little physical points in the body. So when transgression pain is released, you could trace the origin of that pain through those gateways that are literally light body gateways into the physical vessel. And due to that transgression, basically, I got all my knowledge back of what these points are, where they are. So even now, you know, when I finish the spiral teachings, all 7 of them, and they're on my Patreon page called Illumined Ascension. Now, I will also begin with the introduction into the light body teachings, and the gateway for understanding these entry points and the light body. And it's going to be a very simplistic version of what can be understood at this time. They're only going to share the basics with me and with those watching, those people who are devotees and want to receive the teachings, because it's always the next step and the next step and the next level, right? So the moment when that was done, I knew that this is the next step, because it's also the next step for me. So when I went through the establishment of back my gateways, right, and until that was done, I was still being attacked. And then at a specific point I could no longer be attacked, right, because there were no longer these holes that were burned through these gateways, but I still had transgression pain leftovers. These were several layers and layers. They're calling them hidden pockets of energy. They were hidden deep within my cellular memory. And when cells open up, when you elevate to the next stage, it literally, like a domino effect, it pulls out all the other ones, right? And so it's very disheartening for me to experience that, because I would have, let's say, 2 weeks of feeling very good and very well in my body, and then the next wave hits, and it's an endless wave of every day just pain, pain, pain. And me, and then my mother, who uses these specific shamanic techniques that she channels now, just like, they're so helpful, they're so powerful. I can feel shivers when this energy is leaving my body, and it's like the negative, kind of goosebumps, when they feel like shivers more than synchronous goosebumps. And these things we're using now to elevate, and what my family of light Aurea says, these are my divine healers and assistants, because no creation angel goes on a mission without a full team, this huge team, right, of beings, and they're very advanced. They're so advanced, and yet even they say these pockets of energy are so hidden, so when the next wave comes out, it reveals the next wave, right? And that's how they can work. It's the moment something comes up from the cellular memory, they were located, and when they locate it, they can, heal it. But it's not enough to just use the light techniques and them doing it directly. Sometimes the hands-on-hand healing is required, and only my mother knows how to do that, and she's a pure enough source. So she's activating these gifts, and then I'm helping her, I'm guiding her right to press what to do, and she uses her own channeled abilities. And these are so amazing, because you need, with this type of energy, because this energy is phantomic, right? It's phantom-like, and it's very difficult even for these advanced beings to work with. So, but it also needs a very earthy approach. It's not just pulling it up. You need the way to find a way to release these energies through the body, through the physical body, right? Because ascension is really just a cooperation and a merging of a light body vessel and a physical body vessel. And so this work, then, we need to approach it from all angles and levels, but it's so hard, because when I have painful waves, the energy as these electrical jolts comes through. And I had it now for over 2 weeks, and the first week was just here, this channel, there's energetic channels, right, that go through the body. And then when the energy, literally these pockets of electric energy that are charged there in the memory of the cells, they open up, they explode. And recently they showed me this analogy. They said it's like if you have a house, right, and you have a bomb exploding in the house, then there's consequences, and it's full of ash and stuff, and then we need to do the clearing and all of that. That's the analogy they show me. And we had so much work, it's like day to day, and it's very disheartening, because it never ends. For 3 years now, I have this looping reality, releasing one level of pain, elevating, and then again, and again, and again, and it's constant, and it's nonstop. And at these times, literally, I'm losing it. So lately, at this last resort, they called it the last resort. They said this was our last resort. They said that they're now working to finalize the painful release through last leftovers of this painful energy, because they know it hurts my body. It hurts me a lot. My child, my physicality, right? It hurts so much, and I'm very sensitive. I feel pain deeply. Some people are so dense they don't even feel it. Doesn't mean they don't have things in their own body. But ascension, right? Because I asked them, I said, why is it so painful? Why is it so difficult? They said, first, because it is physical ascension. It's not mental. It's happening in the body. So imagine everything that is entrapped, and it really leaves the body. It doesn't just, energetic work that's a constant, just like a mixing and stirring of energy, but it's never really, really elevated through resurrection work, right? They said that's why it's so painful, because it's physical ascension. And second, because of transgression, right? Because they knew what they were doing, right, to place these painful energy pockets. Because the moment a human feels pain, they want anything to do to avoid it, to numb it down with painkillers. Fortunately, I can do that because they don't work. And that's how I know I have a transgression pain, because if I take a painkiller for the pain that's organic, you have something like, I don't know, abscess or something like in the physical, it works. But with this, it doesn't work, and they always tell me the same thing. And last time I asked them, they said it's too many ligaments. They said it's too many ligaments, and a ligament is literally something that binds two or more things together, right? And that means that everything is connected in the body. So if you take a painkiller, right, it can't it's too many trigger points. That's what they're saying, and it doesn't work. It's a very also advanced physiological process through which the brain goes through with these electrical charges. And that's why so much endurance is necessary, and this work is so lasting. They said, you know, let's say you had this being done to you for years, and now we're doing it. This is the 3rd year now. It's almost 3 years that I have this pain. It will be probably just in a few months will be 3 years. And they said it's so disheartening because it takes so long because of the physicality, right? The physicality ascends slowly and gradually. But that final liftoff, which you call physical ascension, is very fast, they said. So when I was going through this and they were showing me that these are the last few entrapments, and I'm very disheartening. I don't even believe anyone anymore, because when I'm in this pain, I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. It's just constant. Just get me out of here, right? I just want to go. I'm sick of it, because I've had so much pain in these 3 years that it's unimaginable to me. You know, how can you be so loving, so full of life, so joyful, and at the same time experience such pain that's not even of your own origin? It's very disheartening. And they always say they're very sorry, but this has to go out, because if it doesn't, right, it does affect physical ascension. That's the point. And in the last time we were doing this, first we did it through them, and then we needed to do our own work. They said to us, they said, we're now only working on our final step, which is ascension. That's our only focus. And they were showing me this vision that God has its own idea, you know, what should happen here on earth. But they said we're divine beings. We work as one with God, right? So for us, it's also what we want to establish and achieve here. And they actually showed me a timeline. They said in 2019, when I was really elevated, I was actually at the 80% of this light body, physical body merge, because once they fully merge, you're free to go wherever you want. You can create whatever you want, right? That's what ascension is. And for many, it would take lifetimes to establish that, but due to the fact who I am as a tantrika being, and we have this natural knowledge and affinity to that, it was like naturally happening through me. I didn't have to know and like consciously do it. It was like being done through me because of who I am. So it was like being dropped through me, and I was literally just embodying and integrating that. But this transgression prolonged everything, and it put things in a very slowed down timeline, which made me very uncomfortable, disheartened, depressed at times of this pain. And like I said, these bipolar notions, either super elevated when I elevated myself, and just stagnant, and being on the couch or in my bed for days, couldn't move out of, you know, difficulty of pain. So naturally, right, you're lying on your bed for, let's say, 3 days to a week, and you're a very hyper being like I am. You know, I'm always needing to create something. And when you can't do that, and then the good wave comes, you want to do everything. So I naturally tend to exhaust myself, because I tend to overdo and I do so much at once. And I literally figured out that I'm never actually fully rested in my body. I'm always in that little, you know, the notion of you're always feeling pressure. Like, even if it's a positive pressure, right, your body is always feeling pressure, because there's so much in you that's bubbling up. And they said that physical ascension is that last step when you've really done everything, everything was fulfilled, all was agreed upon, you've done everything, right? They told me the mission work, that gateway work, and the Star Advanced mission was completed last year. They told me, and I shared that with you, so I thought I'm going home. I was still in a very weak state, and I made videos about, okay, it's my time to go very soon, right? That's what I thought. But no, more work was needed to be done. So when we got this house and we came to this place, I had, let's say, enough, not full-time, but I had at least enough peace to set up the foundation, the principles of illumined intelligence through my body again. I could set up the gateways, I could bring Aurea through me, and I could elevate and heal my inner child. But the thing is, right, the inner child of an angel, one who knows this is not the home, this is a temporary experience, this was my service work, this was a mission, knows very deeply within me that, you know, I will never establish a physical life on earth like many others. They create families, they do things, they have long-term projects, they open up retreat centers, things like that. And a part of me believed in me holding these retreats and doing these things for a very long time, because I was just with that seed, I was birthing that. But it took this transgression to show me that transgression was our work, was our mission. But our creation and my creation, where I'm from, where my beloved is, what we are, what we do, will be of that next realm. And it was difficult for me to accept that, right? Because my human self still had desires and tendencies and things they wanted to fulfill, right? Before my time is to literally physically leave the body. And when these last things happened, right, it was like I thought it was already nearly done with my healing, and this wave came again and took me so much by surprise. suddenly I felt this feeling of how does it feel to finally know, oh no, I am leaving. And instantly when they showed me that, when they said we're now only working on the last step, preparations for ascension. And remember in 2020 in fall, when we went back to our mountainous region after, 6 or so moves, they said that the physical body transfiguration will last approximately for me, just for me, 1 to 3 years. And now it's 2 years almost. And they're showing me it's time, it's time. They keep saying it's time, right? They said through this last transmission I had with them, I felt them really close. I've never felt them as close. I was crying a lot. I felt my beloved there. They always say he's at the gates waiting for me. And it's very difficult. And they said, we're all waiting, we're all ready. But, we need to do this work, because if this pain release work isn't done intact, I still am not able to go, So that's their final objective. They're calling it their last resort, a last resort. And is it strategies of war? It really means like it's an action when you have nothing left. So you use that, right, as your main strategy. It's the last resort. And they're calling it that. Just some sounds. And they're telling me now we're really close. They're saying really close. And I'm starting to feel it. I started to really, really feel. And the thing is, the paradox of this experience is that the closer you are, the more you actually appreciate life and you see life in a different perspective than before. It's like even those last droplets of ego and things and worries and frustrations that are holding you down, it's like they're all just, they go away, and your child just starts seeing, oh, if, like those movies with people who say they receive in a doctor assessment, a clinical assessment that they only have 3 or 6 months to live. So what they do, they change. A lot of them changes during that time. I'm not talking about death again, but it's a similar experience, right? Because if you know that your time is limited, that this is it, you've done everything you could, you've done the mission, this was done, this was done, this was done, and if they tell you the fulfillment awaits there, across the gate, then why would you prolong yourself here any longer? And this is what I'm starting to really, really feel now. So that same seed that I was feeling into last year, right, that I'm leaving soon, has returned, but in a new way, because it's no longer associated with feelings of depression or sadness. It's just a deep longing. And when we had that last transmission with the team, I felt them really close. Like I probably felt them the closest to me as I've ever had before. And when you can start feeling, right, things so close, the time is fast approaching. People who are with one foot on the other side, they're like, yeah, that's that. But you have to know there's a huge difference, because what most people, and even in the movies and everywhere, call the other side, that's not heaven. It's the astral realm, right? It's the heaven astrally realms. It's the recreation of the so-called heaven in the astral realm. So it's where the souls are recycled back and they move back into the earth based reality, and they receive through this council of hologram, they receive instructions what their next life should be. And you can read that in many, many channel books, including Dolores Cannon. I've read many examples like that, and many hypnosis work, right? They're always told what they should do next. They never choose themselves, right? So ascension, you don't go to the astral heaven realm, you go to the new realm. And these gates, when I talked about, these are the golden gates of ascension, and there's only specific beings and their light intelligence that is able to hold this gateway, and it's only going to be held for beings who are ready. And remember, last year I talked about how Aurea, her extension, will go first, and then the others would start being translated into this new realm, and some would be taken in a different way than others, and many would have their own experience. And I can't tell anyone whether they are the one or the chosen or they're ready, but it's something you will start feeling in yourself. And for many, it's not like, okay, it's open and then I go and then it's closed. No, it will be open for a very specific amount of time. But the work of preparation needed to be done until this point, and that's why they kept stressing out, right? Just recently, how it was important to change the contracts that were binding many souls to the darkness, that was the first step, because they wanted to assure ascension of many beings as possible. So they will be moved from this 3D, which is, as I've explained, the 3D is becoming more and more condensed. It's because the majority of these young soul types that are basically beings who are evolving with the consciousness of Earth evolving, they're too young, they're too vulnerable, they've been too manipulated, they can't wake up. So if the mass of the indigenous planetary consciousness can wake up, the planetary consciousness will remain, because it's a collective choice they made. And that many things, many strategies, many protocols were made for people to really not wake up. as you know. Everything was done to make sure for that. But on the light team side, on the Lumen light team side, everything was assured that a Lumen union happens for these who are ready. And that was our main objective. Remember, I told you I had a dream years ago. It was a vision, actually, it was a prophecy, when only select few were able to go, and they were lifted through the hands of the mother. And I was the one who was the hand, and the mother worked through me. And it was said specifically only these few. So I don't know the details and description I can give you, but I can tell you what I know is real, because I felt it, and I feel more connected to this next destination that I do through this physical realm. But in paradox, as I've explained to you, knowing that this is not it, this is not your end destination, this is, you know, the ending of life here is actually just the beginning of a new life, and it's not reincarnation. That's something you really have to discern. You not go to the heaven and the astral realms. Like, how can someone go to heaven? Like, that doesn't exist. There's just different planes of reality and realms. You don't have one collective place called the heaven. If anything like that, that what truly is heaven is the place, the realm within the grand central sun, through which the consciousness of source, intelligence, that which we call God, exudes out, and it pushes emissions out and light beings, and it sends out these waves of thought, waves of source, through which all creation functions. Everyone receives from there, everyone who is connected. But the problem is that many souls were not connected to their gateways, to their ascending gateways. They kind of lost the star family group connection, so they couldn't build that golden archway or the bridge to their link with their star families and through the hub station back into the source of life. So I did this work, I still do this work through my audio transmissions, these sessions I offer. I've assisted many people with birthing their new soul aspects, that they can actually really finally start this work. Because a lot of people, they live this reality, and it was a status quo reality through which you're holding so many things in your womb. You know, I call this, when you create your reality by still creating through others. You create through desires and aspects that are of your family, your ancestors. You know, for Lumen beings, ancestry is not a right thing. You're not supposed to feel your ancestry and receive from them. They're supposed to be guidance system. They're supposed to be that which has already come into wisdom, those aspects, but there's not meant to be influences bleeding through into your reality, co-creating your life with you. You're supposed to be your free self, your full self, claim that sovereignty of self, and create your reality according to that. And reality starts with you birthing your soul through your physical body, the reality you create through that, and then whether you choose to harmoniously come into union with partnerships through people that we would call a relationship dynamic, that you also create as a part of that reality. So many, as I said, would step into these unions. Some would step into the unions here with Earth, with their counterparts. Many star beings have their counterparts in the new realm as well. They're holding space for them. And this union, what they said, a Lumen union is all that God now works on, is a part of this union. It's kind of like the last step, right? And it's kind of like a waiting game for many of us. You know, I have to tell you, I've been so many things on Earth. I've been mostly a vessel for this intelligence. I've done numerous amounts of session. I've assisted so many. I've made over thousands of videos. And yet, right, there was something, an element of me that was always unfulfilled, and that's that love aspect. I never had my beloved here with me in the physical. It was a sacrifice we made for the betterment of all, right? For advanced beings like myself, it's not safe. I explained this before, that the counterpart goes with you. One has to be what we call on the other side, that you are made sure of your safety. And it's a sacrifice, right? Because during that time, you're not together, and you do take a risk, and something might happen to you along the mission, and you might lose your embodiment, and you might have to come back, and you know, there's complications due to this complexity of the work itself with transgression that can occur. And so when they told me everything now is done, it's been all laid out. And the last step, remember in the video before this one, I shared how all of the beings are now just exuding that light to go into union. But union will look different for many different beings, because we're all different beings here. We had different missions, we had different levels of advancement. But a union might also be, physically speaking, for example, for me, if you were able to hold unconditional love for someone of, like for me, union is, you know, true divine union is masculine and feminine. We all, of course, in the first place, that union is masculine and feminine traits within us, those essences, those aspects of life. But if you can manage to come into union with someone in the physical who you recognize physically as the counterpart, and they're not necessarily your mission or, you know, your star or whatever you call it, soul counterpart, but it's someone you can temporarily hold the space of this union for. It also acts as a gateway for this lumen union, right? And for me personally, to share just a little bit of that, that's kind of very intimate and vulnerable for me. But to tell you the truth, I only had an experience, or I had unconditional divine love only for one person, one man in my life. I'm not in a relationship with them. It's not a relationship, a configuration, whatever you call it, whatever. It's just the way I love, the way I feel for that being, and it's just something that, you know, it's there, it's always there, whatever, whether you're upset with them, whether, you know, like physically, that doesn't matter, it comes and goes, but the love is always there. And it's the kind of love, you know, when you just want someone to be free and happy and fulfill their best potential, and even if they don't choose it, right, you still see and hold that vision for them. And it was difficult for me because as a human being, right, as a human person, I also had desires, right? I also had things that I perhaps wanted to experience, and maybe some of them with them. I didn't come through, and I had to let a lot of that go. I had to let so many things in my life go, and I thought, I said to Spirit, I said, but I can't go unfulfilled, you know, like all aspects, even the physical one, the human one, have to be fulfilled. And they said, well, you have fulfilled everything because you felt that love, you had that love. On earth, you know, not everything due to free will of other people can be experienced as a full union. And they told me that, you know, for union, it takes two, right? Both have to have the same vision, same desire to come together in that way. And if it's only one-sided, and if only one feels that way, it's not going to happen until both would align, you know, equally. And sometimes this is not possible, like I said, because there's many invasions and intrusions of the dark. So much whispering, so much falsehood shown through people, about people. But the heart knows, right? The heart always feels. And for me, you know, I always return through numerous amounts of try to be hijacked this way. I came back to this love. This love is like the ultimate, you know, and this love actually fed me. It helped me to elevate myself during the time when I was most down, when I was most depressed. And I only saw or met this person once, but that day really, it brought that return of what I call this beloved essence, that beloved energy. And it was with me since then, since that day. And it was just there, it was always there. And it was something in me, and that's what Spirit said. Spirit said it was about you being that beloved. You hold that within you. It's not about the other person. But as humans, right, we still feel the love for the other person because that's the human experience. Just like we hold the love for a counterpart, it's the same thing, because the way we think of the counterpart, right, there's many aspects to that. And you might say, someone's not my counterpart, but they carry the essence as well. So they are a part of your counterpart experience. They are a part of your beloved experience. And in a way, they are your beloved as well. And I always say to my mother, you were the biggest, I tell her always, you were the biggest love in my life. You were the biggest beloved, and I was her love. I was her love child. And man, our journey was so difficult, and it was so beautiful. We have so many beautiful stories. Just yesterday, we went out. We went on a beautiful day together by this river beach, not here. And we have so much to talk about. We have so many things after so many years. We never get bored, right? And of each other. And every day, I love her more. I adore her. I'm so in love with her. The way she is, her gestures, her smile, her cuteness. Like, it's adoration at its finest. And for me, that's the beloved energy. And it's not always someone would experience that physically with the other gender. And, you know, the desire for that tantric union sexually, it might happen, but it has to be someone that can be equally standing there, in opposition to you. Not in opposition, but the counterpart energy, right? That configuration. But for me, that love fed me, and I wouldn't survive without that love. Her unconditional love for me, this ultimate sacrifice for me, for my life, is because she knows she chose an ascension. And for her to ascend, she had to birth me, that I would assist her and elevate her, and then at the transgression point, she would then help and assist me. Until our final day, when we are not needed here anymore, and we've done all our deeds, and all our bidding, all our time was spent with the fullest potential. So what my team said to me, they said, you know, when you think there is potentials unfulfilled, it's not yours. They said you might have visions, but if other people have not stepped into their highest possibilities, they said it's their potential not been fulfilled, not yours. And they told me that I literally have fulfilled everything. Now it's just preparations for ascension, that's it. I've always been a very pure one, so it was hard for me to live in this physical body, very hard, and people never understood me, except my mom. I've gained a few people who I recognized as Aurea's children, and these children are the most precious people I met in this life. I love them all so much. I love them so dearly because there's like an instant connection, and it's not on that level of teacher student, it's more like child mother. It's just beautiful, you know, when you can see people like that and you see them, you see their beauty, you see their precious gem like nature, and they don't, you know, when they're still closed up, they don't always see them for themselves. And I believe this huge part of Aurea's purpose for me was to help them see themselves so they could start ascending, and many of them are now taken care of and they'll do just fine in their own time. And in a way it feels like when I'm feeling into the energy, it's like it feels like I'm no longer needed. But whatever I do now, it's a bonus. Like I said already last year, it's like a surplus. It's like I do it because I love doing it. And I still have sessions with people. I still have people. I'm still in conversation with some people. I haven't abandoned life or, you know, went to the mountains. I can't even walk to the mountains. I don't have that energy. My body's not the same anymore. Will never be. I know that. It's been through too much damage, you know, electricity wise. But it serves me enough now that at least I can walk. Remember 2 years ago, right? I couldn't. Last year was still very difficult, but it's better now. But there's still other things I have, and I don't have as much energy I can channel through. You know, all the energy now goes into creating this, and all the energy went here. Like in the first cycles of my life, I used a lot of energy for physical endurance and body training, right? I went to so many mountain peaks, not just here in Italy as well. But that energy started turning over after ascension. All the life force I channeled, and I literally helped myself to transfigure through that life force was used for ascension. So when they told me that, I know my time is nearing. They said we don't have much time. I don't have much time. I don't know when. I do have a specific desire. If it's according to my will, I'm not going to say anything about this publicly, but I will talk more about this in the details with my Patreon group. People who are more understanding of this, people who are open up, who are devotees. Although I love everyone, as you know, but there's people who's been like bystanders and watchers who come and go, and they just take something and they leave, and that's also fine. But these people have never had love for me, and I understand that, and it's okay. These people never believed in me, but the people who are really connected to Aurea, to me as well, of course, because it's all one, right? We're both one. These people really always believed in me. And I can see it in them, I can feel it, and all I can say to them, all I can say to all of you is thank you for believing in me always. Feeling into my heart what I'm saying, not just listening to the words. So a lot of people, when you say things like that, or I'll be leaving soon, they're like, yeah, whatever, she's just talking. And I know some people wouldn't want to believe, especially if they have their own views and attachments and beliefs about this. That's fine, you know. It doesn't have anything to do with me, though. My journey is solemnly independent. And it's interdependent upon many of beings who we are in this mission together with. We have to do our protocols, and then that's that. So my last desire is, you know, to spend really beautiful summer this year. I really want to have a beautiful summer, whether it's a rainy one or sunny one, I don't know. You know, sometimes here in our mountain space, I was told, I never actually had that experience. Someone once told me where I lived before that sometimes there are summers that it's raining all summer, and I would not like that to be my last summer, for example. But I know that I can feel it in my body that I've reached a level of consciousness, of advancement, and of purity that it's very difficult still to contain while in this physical form. And that's why you always read stories that when people become a certain way, then they leave. This kind of consciousness is not meant to stay in 3D. I don't see it. I've never seen it like that. This kind of consciousness is so pure, it's angelic, and it belongs where that can harmoniously cooperate and, you know, coexist with it. I don't see myself living in this house anymore. I can't even. We realized it was a very hard fact to accept, but we realized we don't have enough funds to do the changes, and it's not what we want anyway. We're not on earth anymore. We're so close to our ascension. We're not here to do physical work. We're not meant to spend thousands of euros on that, which we don't even have. We just kind of accepted the fact that things are as they are. I have some of my own secret desires, what I want to do with the house after I leave, you know, and what I see, and that's something that's just close to my heart. I want to spend now some time just with Aurea, let her channel through me what she would want to do with some things. And they said to us, I remember last year when I was still down, they said, you know, our ascension will be actually joyful. It won't be like, oh, I'm so sad, I want to go home. It's not anything like that. They said it will be the most joyous event. We still don't know how physically looks like for the body. That part is the unknown. They are saying that the closer you get to it, you will always know the next step. That's all we need to know, is the next step, and the next, and the next. So where I am now is, first, I really wanted to share this, put it out there, because it is what it is. You can't hide the truth. I've received what I received. This knowing really changed me profoundly. I've changed, like I said, my perspective has turned over 180 degrees, if not more. I know what specific things I need to do now, what I still need to put out, communicate. These are just basically preparation things that then I know I've done it all. Also physically taking care of things. And the rest is that, you know. We will be doing this ascension vehicle, ascension chamber, or what's called the prism of life, or the ascension body, which was the work shared in the last 7th spiral, most advanced one. For when your time comes, that's the vehicle you use, right? But it takes time, it takes preparation for the body. It's literally a translation of light, and it's a creation. And once you have that ascension vehicle, you're untouched, you're invincible, and you can choose when to leave, how to leave, where to go. It's all navigated through this higher consciousness, linking to your star self and your star group family. So I don't want to go too much deeper into that. Like I said, I will go into that in Patreon. I know that most people watching publicly on YouTube will never understand me. I'm not looking for that. The only freedom, a lot of freedoms were taken from me, right? I couldn't choose where I want to live, what kind of house, all that, due to money, right? I could work the best with what I had, because my focus was service, not gaining piles of money and working a job, right? It's my job, my path was not materialistic. So I had what I had. I used the resources as best as I could. But this house really feels like a dead end, you know, too much repair work. And it's not something we're looking into. I'm not even thinking of selling. You know, we did that twice in our life. It's just too much. I feel like that's all distraction that the darkness wants. We really had to rebel that path in the last few weeks and come to the terms and realization that everything, all the burden was dropped, and it was the simplest way, because, you know, the truth is always simple, and it feels right in your heart, in your body, in your mind. And the mind stopped resisting all the things, yeah, but I need this and that and to do this, otherwise I'm not safe. And it helped us really much to let go. And now that I've processed the feelings, I'm seeing I'm actually more joyful than before, because I dropped the weight, I dropped the burden of the house, of the things that still kind of kept me in the locked in mode. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to be doing my preparation work without a focus on a specific timing. I do have a desire for when, but it just remains a desire. I will leave it up to higher light intelligence. I don't know how many videos I'll still record during or in the meantime. Maybe they're going to be more easier, light-filled videos, spontaneous when I go on my trips. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe something comes up. I don't have a plan. I just feel what is the truth, and I trust Spirit of Life, or the Holy Spirit, and my team to guide me through and navigate me through as gracefully as possible. They told me that the only distraction or a hindrance to ascension is these physical distractions that we cannot fall for anymore, like tying us back into this condensed feeling, because that literally drops the frequency, right? And when you're dropped frequency, you're not in an elevated state, you can't really do ascension work. Yeah, it was very hard for me to meet actually so many people around the world, so many beautiful souls, and I'll touch them and hug them physically. And some people that I did know physically did not want to come and meet me, so that's kind of a paradox, right? The people who live like miles, thousands of miles away, they would come and they would visit you, and there's some people who are close enough they wouldn't even come, and that's kind of like a shame. That's kind of like, yeah, but it is what it is. I just want to watch life as it goes by, as I am life, and I just want to really have beautiful moments. I want to give myself some free time. I didn't really have much free time, you know, only when I went to nature like this a few times a year, but otherwise I just work. I always diligently work. I've worked all my life on this. All my life was just basically one big preparation, and then the work began with transgression. And when the pain hits, I'm just gonna say that it hits hard, and those days are the worst. But when I'm pulled through, each time I elevate a little more, and that's what ascension is. And when they said we're close, I know that that means that the last step, one day it will be the last step of elevation. And that means I'm no longer going to be contained in this physical vessel. And it's hard to imagine, it's hard to comprehend from this state, but the more I'm in it, the more I feel it. Like last year, I was connecting to that, still more like something that's there, but I can't reach it. And now it's just becoming something that's just, oh yeah, it's just how things are. That's natural, that's organic. It's easy as breathing for me. And the moment you think like that, you know you're ready. When you think it's not your time and it's difficult and it's complex and you can't understand, it just means you're not ready. It's not time. And that's okay. It's not a path of forcing anyone anywhere, because the divine plan of perfection was to create a pathway for every soul to step into and through this experience in their own timing perfectly, with the assistance of their own star families and legions of illumined light beings and their intelligence. Yeah, so I'm thankful and I'm honored that I met every one of you who came in interaction with me one-on-one, because I don't know who I speak to, right? If I'm just speaking here by myself, for myself. I know there's people who watch here and there, but those of you who've been constant in my life, even from behind the scenes, thank you so much. I wish I've had more to experience as a human, not just the work. I really do, but I think everything's perfect, no matter how we see it, right? Everything in the end, when you're in that altered, ascended perspective of life, you see the bigger picture, and everything makes sense through that lens. When you're still in that contracted, narrow, self-serving ego, you see things like, yeah, this was wrong, this shouldn't have been done to me or for me. And then you see, no, it was always all a part of the plan, right? So I'm here just sharing my bliss with all of you, and saying I'm always in bliss, because I'm not, but in this moment I am. I'm gonna go sunbathing, I'm gonna drop all my clothes without any inhibitions. I love being naked outdoors, just taking in the sun, letting it recharge me. And I hope that I still get to share during the meantime some shorter videos. I really don't have specific topics I want to talk about anymore. I think I've said it all. Maybe some few lighter videos, just some things or tidbits I receive here and there. Those of you who are interested in higher work, Patreon is always there, still available, and all the spiral teachings are there now. And we will start, as I've shared, with the introduction into the light body protocols. It'll be very simple, few first sharings, and then we'll see how much I actually still want to share. I feel it's less and less. In the beginning of this path, I had so much to share. It was like a burden that I need to gradually, alleviate myself from. And now it feels like less and less, just a little here and there. I don't want to be too long, I don't want to be too loud or anything like that. But I really feel these 3 months, I really want to spend more with myself, for myself, and just really enjoy life. Maybe go somewhere and see some more beauties I haven't seen yet. So thank you again all for watching. I hope that my purity of heart inspired some of you to unwind from all that is not pure, because all that's not pure is not of God. And note that that's always the first step to take, and to heal your inner child. It's the basis for all ascension work, because the child will hinder us back. Anything unresolved, traumatic, anything we're still holding in our womb of life, doesn't have to do whether we're man or woman. The womb of life is like a specific gateway through each soul comes with the consciousness, or through the consciousness of the mother. And if there's lots of other things in your womb, you will keep recreating that karma, right? The ties that bind instead of being free in your choices. Being free doesn't mean you're alone. It doesn't mean, oh, and I'm free, then I'm alone. No, it just means you're independent. Your creation will be sovereign, will be yours. Other people will no longer have influence over you. They will not overpower you. They will not overcharge you. You will be in charge of your own life. And that's the kind of main work that Aurea does, the work of liberation. Like I said, I assisted many. Some people didn't want help, didn't want assistance. That's fine too. But in case during this time, I still have left here. We still have left, me and my team. If you feel called, I'm still there for you. I'm always there for everyone. I don't do this for money. I will often, with my people who come to me, have additional correspondence that has nothing to do with monetary exchange. It's just whatever I feel, I will do it. I'm always acting on that impulse through guidance of the divine, through spirit. I just listen to myself. I've always listened to myself, and everything I've always done was the right thing. And always when I look back, I see I was doing things. I always knew I had to do this and this and this. And I always had this feeling I need to do this and that. And I had a lot of that doing. It's like checkpoints, right? I needed to complete. That's the mission kind of life I lived. I didn't live a traditional 3D human life, right? I never did. And I knew what I had to do, and always I knew it very specifically. And at the end, when I did it, it always showed itself, like, why did I do it? And it was always guided. I will always be that way. I was always that way. And people who never really understood me, people who didn't get me, they had their own ideas about me. I can just say, well, too bad, you know, because, you know, you could have had, or you could have met someone who really just was authentic and transparent and without any agenda. But it's hard to be transparent, right, with people who have so many veils and traumas that prevent them from really opening up and expressing with beauty, with grace, compassion. Whoever in this realm resented my purity, whoever was jealous, envious, you know, I would just say to them, so sorry, sir, you're lost, because those lower traits like envy, anger, resentment, hurt, pride, all these things, they're just so dark, you know. They're not who humans were made like. Through the consciousness of Elohim, right? Our divine parenthood, our divine parentage, and our ancestry of the light. And just remember that that's not who you are. When lower emotions come up, do the work. And a lot of people try to do their own work. They don't receive help. They don't want to receive. They're like, I always need to do it alone, you know. Then help will never come, because we're not meant to do it alone. The path of ascension connects all the ascending beings together. And so we're here to help each other. Just remember that. So if you're still somewhere stuck and isolated and thinking, oh, it's all on me, I'm all alone, you know, you have to get out of that mentality, because it will keep you in a victimhood mode, and you're going to be locked in your own self-made prison, and life will move by and you won't even see it. So you will have a life, lead a life, but you won't really be alive. So I'm going to be alive as I always have been. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to spend my time wisely, and gonna share my higher perspective, this altered perspective that's just so pure. It's without these shades now, with those who still want to cooperate with me, harmoniously share with me, and listen to the voice of God, listen to divine intelligence, and feeling and hearing the call, and answering the call of their personal transformation, leading them to their own transfiguration. So that's that for today. I'm super hot. I just want to undress already. So thank you for being present, as always, with so much love, wisdom, and power. And the last thing I want to say is, yeah, I really do miss my beloved. Yeah, it's something I just need to say, because that's the one thing that I really didn't experience here on earth. That love, that ultimate love with the other who is the counterpart. And that's something I'm eager to experience in my next cycle of life. And I just can't wait. So thank you guys for being here, for listening, and for all of your love, all of your support in my life. May we continue until we're still here in the 3D, and may continue onward when we're going next. Love you all so very much. Bye for now.
Welcome into